Nowadays, we often face a choice: on one side, the reliability and scalability of microservice architecture, and on the other, the speed and cost of development. To eliminate compromises and enable efficient development for different types of infrastructure, we created our platform, Honey Platform. Hello, in this video, we will explore Honey Platform. We'll discuss the challenges and problems the platform addresses, dive into how the development process works on the platform, get acquainted with the Honey Lab and Honey Market services, and explain who else can benefit from and earn with our platform. The platform's primary goal is to provide a tool for developing business systems that is independent of infrastructure and deployment methods, without compromising the efficiency and reliability of the final product. In other words, when developing your business product, the focus should be on implementing its business logic. As for how you deploy it, whether as microservices or a monolith, which technologies you'll use for data storage, queues, and more, you can decide later, depending on the types of environments, their loads, and other factors. The goal of Honey Platform is to minimize changes to business code regardless of infrastructure changes. In addition to its primary goal, Honey Platform also addresses common challenges encountered in microservice architecture, including managing dependencies and versions, inter-service communication problems, enabling effective testing at all levels of the system, handling distributed transactions and seamless migrations, ensuring security, and many more. By using Honey Platform, you can also reduce time to market, quickly create MVPs, launch beta testing, and move to production faster. Increase product flexibility, develop applications and modules that integrate easily with other systems. Use existing solutions, use applications, modules, and components from other developers via Honey Market, embedding them into your infrastructure. Optimize infrastructure costs through flexible environment configuration. So, let's take a look at the development process on Honey Platform. The core approach to development is business first. This means the focus is on tasks that deliver business value, while infrastructure components are selected later, during the deployment stage. When developing business logic, we use the concept of platform roles. Examples of roles include a web application, an event handler, a data source, and others. We'll explore some of these roles in more detail later. Once the business logic is developed, we configure deployment rules based on the infrastructure components. From now on, we'll simply refer to these as components. Honey Platform allows you to create multiple configurations with different sets of components. During deployment, the platform assembles and deploys the final product into environments, depending on the configuration selected for each specific environment. Let's examine the development process on the platform using an online store as an example. Take a look at the context diagram. We have a customer on one side, the store service on the other, and a client application on the customer's device. For our example, let's assume it's a web application. At this step, we need to define the actions a user can perform in the application. For our example, these actions include browsing the catalog, creating and paying for an order, viewing order history. Our next task is to create a list of business processes required to implement the user actions. For this example, we'll consider fairly generalized processes: display product catalog, create an order, process payment, display order history. Once we've listed the business processes, the next step, before describing them, is to define the entities and, if needed, custom data types, such as enums and records, used within these processes. Entities are defined by models, classes, and interfaces, specifying their fields and types. For our example, we define the following entities: user, product, order, and the following data types. Product type enum defines product types. Shipment method enum defines shipping methods. Money record stores amount and currency information. The next step is to define the processes themselves. On Honey Platform, processes can be defined either in code, currently in YAML format, or using a graphical interface tool. What does a process definition include? A process definition consists of endpoints, combs, steps that execute code, output points, and control combs for special tasks. When defining a comb, we specify which method will be executed at that step. This could be business logic code we are going to write, a comb from another module, a standard Honey Platform method. Parameters can also be passed to combs, enabling reuse across multiple processes. Honey Platform even supports configuring processes to adapt their behavior based on the environment parameters where they run. Let's take a look at our process definitions. The first one, getProduct process. This process consists of one entry point, one comb, and one output point. When the process starts, the process executor component writes the input parameters, for example page number for pagination, to endpoint 0. Then comb 0 retrieves the product list, and the results are stored in output 0. The second process is payment process. This process is more complex. It has multiple entry points and outputs. Each entry point has specific rules. For example, you cannot access the payment done entry point if the process hasn't started yet. Combs can also have conditions for execution. For instance, in the payment process, depending on whether items were successfully reserved, the process can either proceed with payment or generate an error message. Along with processes, another core concept in Honey Platform is modularity. All code, including process definition, entities, and data types, must be organized into modules. During deployment, Honey Platform combines these modules into a single product. At this step, we need to decide how to split the functionality into independent parts. For our example, we divide our product into the following modules. Main page module, responsible for the main page and login. Catalog module, manages catalog functionality. User module, handles user profiles. Payments module, manages payments and payment history. Let's take a closer look at what a module includes. First, on a schema definition. It defines types, classes, interfaces, processes, combs, and other elements not yet mentioned. Second, applications. A module can also include one or more applications. Applications implement platform roles. Examples of roles: Honey App, a web application built with Honey Framework. Comb Executor executes comb logic. Process Executor manages process execution. Each application must have at least one profile. It specifies how the application will be compiled or executed. A profile depends on the programming language and platform. The same application can support multiple profiles for different technologies. For example, backend application can have profiles. Source code in C#. DLL file with assembly for .NET Core. Source code in Python. When configuring deployment profiles, we select specific profiles for particular applications. Honey Platform then combines all modules into a final product. The last items of modules are export and import sections. Import specifies dependencies on elements from other schemas or applications. Export defines which elements can be used by other modules. Dependencies can be explicit or implicit. For example, an implicit dependency for the person class allows using of any class that matches the person class structure. Additionally, developers can define adapters for explicit conversions between classes and interfaces when exchanging data between modules. This approach improves dependency management. Honey Platform efficiently resolves dependencies between modules. Security, developers know exactly which data each module depends on or exposes. Modules in Honey Platform are designed to be reusable across multiple products. Additionally, developers can purchase modules from others' developers, or sell custom modules through Honey Market. In our example, we develop 3 modules ourselves: main page, catalog, and user, and get the payments module from Honey Market. With modules and processes defined, we're ready to start coding the applications within each module. To develop, launch, and test products in Honey Platform, we use the Honey Lab service and its local version, the Dev Portal. This service performs schema compilation and application builds, deployment rule configuration and environment management, testing, deployment to environments, and migrations. It also includes debugging tools. Additionally, Honey Lab stores developer or company profiles, manages resource access within teams, and facilitates module management. Let's focus briefly on deployment rules. These rules define how the system is built and deployed across environments. There are 3 levels of topology on Honey Platform. The first is host level. Represents the machine running the applications. This could be a local machine, a Kubernetes node, or other options. A host may run 1 or more applications, along with utility tools from Honey Platform. The second one is application level. Applications serve as the deployment units. Each application can be built and deployed independently of others. For example, during development or testing, typically only one application is built and launched. At this level, Honey Platform combines code from different modules into an application, selects implementations of required components. The last one is node or role node level. Represents specific application roles in the platform. For example, the process executor determines which nodes can execute a given COM and directs the request to the appropriate node. Node communication uses transports and protocols based on their topology positions. When defining deployment rules, we configure all 3 levels. Later, these rules are applied when deploying to environments. Environments are also created and configured using Honey Lab or locally in the Dev Portal. When creating an environment, we assign the deployment configuration defined in the previous step. Environments deployed with the same rules will share similar setups. However, at all stages, schema definition, deployment rules, and environment configuration, we can use parameterization for flexibility. This enables us to reuse the same business logic code across different environments, leveraging different component implementations underneath. For example, for a dev environment, a message queue might use an in-memory pipe. For production, it could use a Kafka cluster. Similarly, hosts can have completely different configurations. Local machines for development and Kubernetes clusters for production. Let's move on to Honey Market. As previously mentioned, modules and components can be reused across different products, including those created by other developers. To facilitate easy searching, purchasing, and distributing modules, Honey Market was created. Modules and components in Honey Market can be sold or freely distributed under various licenses. Modules may be created in different languages and platforms, and one module can have multiple profiles for different languages, platforms, and operating systems. Before being released, modules in Honey Market undergo automatic checks and tests. Components are also reviewed by Honey Platform developers for additional validation. Honey Market includes a feedback system, allowing users to submit reviews, tickets, and issues. For module suppliers, sales analytics and other reports are available. It's no secret that the IT industry is becoming increasingly regulated. In different countries, states, and regions, there are various requirements and restrictions on data storage and processing. To simplify the choice of software products and modules, as well as audit compliance, Honey Market is structurally and legally divided into regional Honey Markets. When purchasing a product, you can select a specific region and be assured that the product meets the regional legal requirements, or you can get to know that chosen product does not meet those requirements. As a supplier, you can also restrict the regions where your products can be purchased. Additionally, Each regional honey market can offer localization services for modules and software products. So, we discussed the problems that Honey Platform addresses, briefly outlined the development and deployment process, and introduced Honey Lab and Honey Market. Honey Platform allows us to easily and efficiently create software products. However, let's talk about who and how else can make money with us on Honey Platform. So, if you are a developer or integrator, you can create and sell your applications, modules, and components. Develop connector modules for your existing systems, including various cloud services. Work on software product development and customization for your clients. If you are an infrastructure provider or hosting provider, you can also gain new customers who are using Honey Platform. In Honey Lab, when configuring environments, developers have the option to choose an infrastructure provider where the product will be deployed. By following the required steps, you could be included on the list of regional or global infrastructure providers. The first step: register as a provider in Honey Lab. The second step: create deployment pipelines that work with your infrastructure. The last one: ensure smooth and reliable operation of your infrastructure on your side. After passing the audit by Honey Platform engineers, users will be able to choose you as a provider and pay for your services directly from Honey Lab. Honey Lab will take a modest commission and you will gain new customers. How else can you make money with us, besides development and infrastructure? Firstly, you can open your regional honey market, which will be included in the global honey network. We will provide the software and technical support. For purchases through the regional market, you will receive a commission as a percentage. Secondly, you can offer localization services for products and modules, provide auditing services for compliance with regional legislation, or offer support services in your region. Finally, another way to earn on Honey Platform is by financing developers. Offer funding services to successful companies or individual developers based on turnover and other metrics, and earn from that. Well, our video is coming to an end. Thank you for your attention. Stay connected with us, subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our LinkedIn group. The QR codes with links are on your screen. We wish you all the best. See you in the next videos.